Okay, good morning video game design students. This is Mr. Z and welcome to this video tutorial that's going to show you how to add multiple colors to a mesh, how to use the edge loop tool, how to use the knife tool, and how to go into wireframe mode. All of these skills are going to be useful for your next project, so I want to make sure that you understand them before you attempt it. Go ahead right now and open up a new Blender file. And just make sure you have a cube on it. And once you do, let's go ahead and get started. We already know that if we select the cube, we can go over to its material properties, and then we can change the word material to a name like red, let's say, and we could select the base color, and we could actually, move down and make it red. It won't show up right away, but if you click on the shaded viewport option, then it should appear. But what if I wanted each side of this cube to be a different color? Well, I can't just keep adding colors to here because this is selecting the entire object. Now some of you might be like, well, let's enter edge mode. Let's give that a go. Where it says object mode, I want you to go over to edit mode. And you can also get there by pressing the tab key. So once you're in edit mode, I want you to click on a face select. And then select one of the faces of your object. And mine is currently like moving the cursor. Oh, okay. The keys on this mouse were reversed. But just make sure you have a face selected. And then we're going to attempt to give this a new material. So I'm going to hit the plus here because we want to add in a second material. Then I'm going to click new to give it a new material. And I'm going to select the word material again. Type in like blue, and then go to base color and switch it to blue. And I can see here in the materials I have for this object that it is in fact blue, but my face is still red. So there's one additional step that you have to do to make that actually change. With it selected, you have to assign the material. So when you click assign, now suddenly that object is blue. Okay, you can select multiple objects by whoops, let me undo that. You can select multiple objects, and you can also, select and assign, select then blue and hit assign, and then it will assign them that color. I must have selected everything. But if you select one side, select an object and press assign, it will only change that one color. You can do that as many times as you want. So if we added a new material and called it green and change the base color of that to green, we can now select the side of this object, and it's at blue right now. I can click on green and I can click assign, and now that object has been assigned green. So now that we know how to apply multiple colors to the same mesh, I would like you to click on your shaded option on the top here because I want to talk about edge loops. Adding an edge loop is essentially adding more vertices and more edges to an object. It is easiest to add with simpler objects. As the more complex you get, the more working with edge loops becomes difficult because it doesn't know where you want to put it, or it might kind of go around too many objects. So I usually say think about the object at the beginning and try to add in the edge loops while it's still a simple object, versus at the end where you'll probably use more of the knife tool. But to use an edge loop, all you have to do is select a side and then do Control, hold that down, and press R. And when you do that, you're going to notice that you generate a cutting profile like you can see here. And if I click once and not twice, I can actually then move that cutting edge profile anywhere on that side. So let's say I click it over here. Now that's permanent and it's cut through the object. Okay, let me rotate to this side so I can do it again. This time, however, I'm just going to double click. So I'm going to do Control and R, and then I'm going to click. Okay, so I double clicked. And if you just do Control R and you double click, it will put that edge loop in the center of the object. Okay, so that's right now the center. I can now click on, let's say, let me go to face mode again. Oops. And click on this face and press Control R, and you'll notice the edge loop is now in the center of this half. So click, click, and I've added an additional edge loop. Okay, the reason why that's cool is because then we can enter vertex mode, and we could use the vertexes by selecting them and using like our G key to kind of manipulate them. Okay, so we can take something simple and we can make it more complex. If you think back to the last project of the playground, you made a cube and you turned it into a playground device. Okay, so it doesn't take a lot of meshes, does not take, you know, a lot of polygons usually to create something. You just have to kind of be smart with what you have, and you can make it just about anything. Okay, so I'm gonna undo a few steps here. This is just for practice, so I'm gonna kind of undo a few steps. So I'm just back to the cube. And I want to talk about wireframe mode. We've already kind of jumped between these two. Wireframe mode is literally just this one over here, the one next to shaded. Okay, and the reason I want you to be familiar with wireframe mode is because if we are in shaded mode, so I'm going to go to shaded, and I'm doing a vertex select, and I want to keep this object as symmetrical as possible, and I'm looking at, let's say, the Y. Okay, so I'm looking straight at this object, and I select this vertex, and I want to select both of them. That's why I kind of did this drag select here. And I look, it didn't select this second one. So if I try to press the G key and stretch this object out and then click away, if I look, it just moved this one edge. It didn't keep these two at the same level. So now my symmetrical object is no longer symmetrical. So I'm going to undo that with a Control Z. But if I'm looking straight at it and I go into wireframe mode, okay, and I select that vertex and I do the same thing and then I turn it, you'll notice that that select grabs both of these vertices. Okay, and that could be really useful because it just keeps your object symmetrical, and that's a key aspect of this next project. Okay. The last thing, the last tool that I want you to be familiar with, I'm going to go back into shaded mode. And you should only use this tool as like a last resort, at least for now. Although you could use it later, you know, whenever you want. But I say last resort because it's not going to be symmetrical, and it's there to add vertices and edges, but it's not going to, you know, add them to both sides. You have to kind of do that manually. So you want to have most of your larger details taken care of and then use this at the very end, is the knife tool. Okay, the knife tool is located right over here. It's knife. And if you select that and you are in an edge mode, so edge select, you can click on an edge, as you can see, and I could drag this knife to another edge, and I can click on that edge. And for now, we're just going to leave it to one click on one edge and a click to the other. And if you press enter, what you've done is you've sliced through that, you've created an edge, and you've created two new vertices. Okay? And that can give you additional manipulation. But if you want to do it on the other side, you have to rinse and repeat. Okay? At least for now. Okay? We will definitely talk about techniques to kind of mirror that to the other side. Okay. You have all the basic skills that you're going to need for this project. So let me press escape and turn this back to a cube by undoing everything we did. And let me talk about your project. For this project, you are going to be creating a fox, a polygon fox. Okay? This is the base model that I found online on the internet, and this is a fox that I made in Maya. I did this using two meshes. I used a single cube to make its entirety of its body. And then I used a cylinder just to make the eyes. Okay? I'm okay if you use a maximum of 6 meshes to build this. Use edge loops, that Control R key, to separate your meshes, and then try to add multiple colors to the same mesh. Okay? And I decided just to pull up my Fox really quickly. So this is what it looks like in 360. Okay. So I did the best I could. It might not be perfect, but it looks pretty decent. And your Fox doesn't have to look the same. Okay. And just some final hints to help you out. Let me jump back to the Blender mode. Okay, so with this cube, how I would start this project is I would look at it from the side. So I'm looking at it from the Y, just at the side. I would go into viewport shading mode or wireframe mode, and then I'd add in some vertices. So let me kind of click on the face here and do Control R, click, click, Control R, click, click. So I've just added in some additional vertices. And when I'm drawing this object, I'm thinking right now the cube is going to make up at least the body. Okay? I can worry about the rest later, but anytime there's a shift or a feature that I might want to capture, then I want to put an edge loop in there. So this is all straight, so that could be one edge. But when it angles like this, I know I need an edge for that. And then do I have enough edges for the bottom side? It's okay to have a few extra, just don't try to make like 100 because that could be a little difficult to work with. Okay, so I put that on. I can do Control R again, click, click, Control R, click, click, Control R, click, click, Control R, click, click. So I've added 3 edge loops to each side. That looks pretty good for, at least starting this. So I think we could start it. I'm looking at it now from the Y-axis, and I want to be in vertex mode. Okay, and now I'm going to think of the object. So I'm going to select, let's say, all these vertices, and I'm going to press G. And the cool thing is, if I'm looking at it directly from the side, all my manipulations are happening in 2-dimensionally. So I don't need to worry about me like pushing the object back or pushing it forward. I can just like manipulate how I see fit and then drop everything. So I moved that to get that kind of straight back that we were looking at before, and then it's going to kind of drop down here. So to drop down, I'm going to deselect all those. I'm going to select this vertex here, press the G key to move it, and try to flatten that out. Now I know because I'm in wireframe mode that it's selecting the one on the other side, and then everything should be good. The top of the head is flat here, so I want to be careful. I do not want to overlap. So this vertex here, I don't want to go through the object. I already know that could be like detrimental. So if it's going to be a problem, it's probably better to delete it. But right now, I think I could kind of just move things. So I move that one, then I select these 3, press G, and I could like build, a rough body of the fox. So that could be kind of where the neck is going to pop out. And I think that's acceptable. And then the legs are going to pop out there and there. So I can kind of grab this side, manipulate that. This side here, maybe do some manipulation there. And it's your fox. So it's okay with how you kind of look at it. But if I rotate this in 3D, you can kind of see how it's starting to, form the shape of a body. Now I know also that the legs have to pop out. Yeah, we know it's got, legs popping out of here. So this object is still pretty simple. I can easily add edge loops to it. So Control R, and I'm going to try to go to the center here. So click, click, drop one directly down the center of the object. And then Control R, and I'm going to probably put 2 more. Click, click, Control R, click, click. Okay. And now I have, let me go into shaded mode so you can see that. I have multiple edge loops, and I could probably get some legs out of these 2. And then here it doesn't look like I have an option to grab out any kind of legs. So I might do another one, Control R, click once, and then move it up here or so. Unless I want to build my legs off the back here, and think about that. Now you might be like, well, how do we get legs off that? Well, we already know that. We know how to extrude. So I could click on face mode, and I could select this face, and I'm going to hold down Shift and select this face, and then I'm going to click back on the Y because I want to look straight at it, and then I'm going to press E, and I'm going to drag out part of the leg. So it looks like it's going to be, at least 3, 1, maybe 1, 2, 3 polygons. So I drew out the first one, then I'm going to press E again, drop that, and then E again and drop that. Okay, so I built that first leg, and then I could think about how it's angled and go back into wireframe mode and select, a vertex. So make sure vertex select is on. Press G to move, and then select that, and then I'm just kind of trying to look back and forth and manipulate the object to match the fox better. Okay, and it's just something that's gonna, oh, that's pretty good. It's something that's gonna take practice. Okay, so since we were doing that symmetrically, like I said, it will do it with both sides. Okay, for the head, when you're thinking about, okay, well, how do I pull out the head or how do I pull out the tail? Get some vertices here that you like. So let's say I like these 4. So I'm going to select those 4. I'm going to look at it from the side, and then I'm going to press the E key. I'm going to pull out, the neck of the animal. Okay, and I could drop that down. And don't forget, it's still simple at this point. So if you want to use edge loops, Control R, and see if you could find the midpoint, which I can. I could click, and now I have extra edge loops if I need them. Okay, so it is a process. It is going to take you most of the class, but I want you to give this a go. Reflect back to this video if you need it, and you can do it. Okay, it just takes time to refine it so that you eventually have a cool 3D fox. Okay, if you have any questions, just reach out to me. Otherwise, best of luck, and I will see you in class next time. This is Mr. Z signing out. Peace.